It is time for Game 5, Indiana Pacers versus Oklahoma City Thunder. The finals, Game 5. The Pacers must recover. What do they need to do better? How will the mental change from Game 4 matter now? And so much more with Dave Searle on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today, much to get into about the NBA Finals. I'm in OKC. Your interview episode's out from Game 5, and Game 5 is tonight. Big one, as huge as it gets for the Pacers, one of their biggest games in franchise history as they try to recover from Game 4. A tough one for them to lose, and yet it's only 2-2. They've been a great response team. It's a huge stage against a great team. What's this going to look like? How will the Pacers feel heading into this one, and what changes do they need to make on the floor? What starters need to be more involved? How can they be better in the game? Dave Searle and I break it all down together. Dave was at the game. We sat very close to each other and chatted about it, and we have so much to get to. So let's just keep talking about the NBA Finals and get right to it. Game 5 tonight, among the biggest games the Pacers have ever played. They haven't lost 2 in a row in forever, but they're playing on the road after a heartbreaking loss in the NBA Finals, but they're very good at adjusting. But so are the Thunder. A lot at stake after a crushing Game 4. I was there, and this person was also there, asking me for help with his glasses and then having a great time in the section right by the media. It's Dave Searle, the podfather himself, is here after enjoying the NBA Finals twice. Dave, how are you? Despite the Pacers not giving you fun things to cheer for the last 3 minutes of Game 4.
I mean, that obviously that was tough. That Game 4 was quite an experience overall, as you alluded to. Right before I got into the game, I took advantage of the fact that they have the court outside of Gainbridge. There's supposed to be a watch party. Rain was predicted. Rain never came, but they canceled it. And did it rain during the game? I guess I don't know. It wasn't there before the game, and it was supposed to rain.
Neither team rained in shots either.
Oh, I showed up in a hoodie as like a way to kind of mitigate against the rain. I just looked like an idiot walking around in hot weather with a hoodie, but I thought it would. I mean, I wanted to get some shots up. It's always fun to do that. It's a cool court. It's a good atmosphere. And then I thought, man, I want to hit like a half court shot. Like let me do like 5 and see if I could hit one. It would be a really cool story if I ended up doing it. So I'm getting a couple up, and then I'm at half court. I kind of turn to my right, and bam, someone bricked the shot so bad it just went rocketing up the court. It went right straight up the middle, and it smacked me in the glasses. And it completely knocked my glasses off, and it broke the bottom rim. I mean, like, not just a hairline crack. It was just toast, right? There's a big chunk of it missing. If you're underneath the basket, maybe something like that happens. I've never had a stray basketball that fast at half court. I mean, I don't know what the heck happened there. But anyway, so didn't have functioning glasses a few minutes before Game 4. So that was super fun. Luckily, my good friend Tony East, I realized my seats were very close to where you were, and I texted you, and you got a roll of tape, and I taped it all together. And thank you for getting clear tape and packing tape. That was like the perfect thing to get. Anything else would have been because if it was like duct tape or electrical tape, vision would be bad. If it's Scotch tape, it probably wouldn't work that well. It worked perfectly. It didn't cover anything that I would be looking out into a distance. So actually, I forgot a lot that it was happening. So it ended up working out okay. But what a way to start. what a way to kick off Game 4, a game that is obviously nerve-wracking for any Pacers fan. Opportunity to maybe go up 3-1, which you never know what would happen. But, man, you feel like that's pretty close to being a championship win. And then with like the worst omen possible, which it turned out to be true. I didn't see any black cats walking past on the way in, but there was not much else. That was tough. That was I remember the experience live of just thinking, is this happening? Is this really happening? Like they're up 7. It was like, when can I like actually get excited about this? And when can I actually,
you're
really
segueing perfectly to where I want to go, because when I think like Obi's dunk early in that quarter, there was still like 10 minutes left in the game. Right. But you're right. They went up 7. And I remember thinking that was the first time it crept in my head, like, oh man, like the people here think they're like about to win the finals. Right. And they were in control for a lot of the quarter, the rest of the way. Like that was the first time probably in Pacers history they were favored to win the championship for a second. And then they lost the game. And so I could ask you about the fan experience of that. I think everybody's gone through that. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to say is this. These are pro athletes who are much better at reacting to emotional situations of sporting events than us. However, I almost guarantee that at least one, if not more, multiple players also had the same thought at some point in the fourth quarter, right? And so now they have to look, they are a great adjusting team. No doubt about it. Carlisle's been awesome in that way for months, for years, right? And is crushing it in these playoffs, and these players execute his changes, and they've played well on the road. There should still be confidence they can recover. But I bring up the emotions that you just described to say, no doubt this is the hardest possible scenario for them to have to like re-screw their brain for a big game. And I know this is impossible for any human like us to predict, but I wonder how much do you feel like that is going to be a factor in Game 5 for the Pacers? Because we could talk about the basketball, and we will, but like that is such a huge shift. Like I that's why I was asking today, like how much did you sulk? How quick did you get over it? Because that's a game that they can't even lie and be like right away. Like no, you didn't. No one did, right? So like what happens now is what I'm curious about.
It's nice that they had 3 days. It feels like 2 days is a little bit of a quicker turnaround. You got 1 day to kind of mope, 1 day to have to like, it's a 3-game series. We've been in this thing before. And then you got 1 day to kind of prepare with a clear head. So that does feel like a good part of it. I'd be really fascinated to see how Carlisle prepared the team sort of emotionally going into Game 4, because I was very curious about how you would approach that. Do you say, look, this is it. This is the series. I mean, the conventional NBA wisdom is always everybody who has ever followed basketball said the winner of this game is going to win the series. Like, Pacers go up 3-1, then they win. If the Thunder tie it up, then they're going to, that's kind of the conventional wisdom. And so do you go all in hard on that and just try to get the team as prepared as possible to take advantage of the opportunity? Or do you kind of have one foot out the door and say, like, this is a very important game. We really want to get it done, but hold a little bit back because we may lose this game and we would still have a chance. And like, I have no idea how a coach would navigate that psychologically. And I have no idea how a pro athlete should navigate that psychologically. And so I don't know how they did it, but I do know that you are here. It's 2-2. Again, a common thing I think everybody's thinking is, well, if you started the series, like, you look at the Vegas odds and you say, hey, you're 2-2 headed into Game 5, you'd be pretty happy about that as a Pacer. So you go through that that particular logic. I do think that there is a lot that the Pacers could lean on to say that they have been at their best when they have been in very tough situations, when the odds have been long, when they've had their backs against the wall. We've talked about it a million times on this podcast. It's kind of the Pacers' MO to lose when they had a chance to go up 3-1 and then come back and get a victory. In general, I thought that in this, the Thunder were a little bit younger, a little bit less tested, and I was curious about how that would play out a little bit here. Scripts flipped a little bit on that sense because the Thunder have now been down 4 times in this playoffs. They've been down twice to the Nuggets, and they've been down twice to the Pacers, and they've responded. The Pacers have technically been down 1 time in this playoffs, or not down, excuse me. They've never been down, but they've been tied once. But it didn't really feel like a tie because they win Game 1. And then it's like, okay, you got the split, and then the Game 2 is gravy, and then you're going to try to win the 2 home games. This is really the first time that they've been like in a spot where a series seemed in doubt from at least like the flow of the series. Obviously, the Thunder are the favorites in this, but now they're tied with 3 games left, and 2 of them are on the road, and that seems like the toughest spot that they've been in.
Agreed.
And so the Thunder have had a few times. 4 different times to have their kind of backs against the wall and respond. And this is really the first time I think that the Pacers have had to do that. And so I'm very, very curious about how they would handle it. But historically, it seems like they had a few more times to do that last year in the playoffs and in the regular season in certain games that were high stakes. They've done very well responding to that. So I do feel very confident emotionally that they will be ready and that there's a lot to talk about and say, we are just that team. Hey, we had a little bit of a falter in the fourth quarter. Guess what? We're not the first team in sports history to be completely immune to a tiny bit of struggle in a fourth quarter of an important game. They can't be the first team to ever just blitz through that and be a miracle team every single time. And I think that you do look at, obviously Bennedict, Mathurin missed a few shots, to say the least. And there's a couple of calls that could have gone differently in the Pacers' way. But I do think that you have an opportunity to say, look, he missed the shots. It is what it is. We got to steal. We had an opportunity to get back in this game. A couple different calls go our way, and we could have closed this thing out. We were barely there. We've got 2 chances. We're going to take care of business at home. We're winning game 6. That's what we're doing. We have 2 chances to get that win on the road, and we were very close in this game. All we need is 1 shot in one of these 2 games, and we're going to get it. So I think that I'm not that worried about the response here. I don't think that this was a devastating blow. You do say, it slipped through. You feel bad about the missed opportunity to go up 3-1 and maybe virtually close this. But I don't think that it is the devastating blow that it could be maybe for some other teams. This team is just too resilient. All the things that they've done in this postseason, all the stats that they've had to make up to quantify the overcoming of the odds and winning in the last few minutes and being down 7 minutes, blah, 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 blah. You're tied. It's 2-2. You really think this team is really going to be that in their feelings about that particular situation? I don't think so. Now, can they still win the series? Are the Thunder too good? I mean, that's a whole nother topic, but I think psychologically they will be all right. And I do feel like they are going to come out and play game 5 very well.
I agree with basically everything you just said, mostly because they've proven it to us, right? Like every time they've been hit hard, they hit right back the whole playoffs. And most of the time it's been like, oh man, the Cavs have this goofy zone. Like, how are they going to solve this thing? Oh, the Bucks switched a lot. Oh, Mikal Bridges face guarded Haliburton. And so on one hand, I've seen them respond every time strategically, including in game 3 of this very series, where in game 2, they looked very poor. They came out in game 3 and it was like, oh, look at that. They legitimately look better than the Thunder. They're not just shooting better. They are playing better than the Thunder. So I have seen it so much that I also do not doubt that they will look great. They will look prepared, and maybe the Thunder just play better. And then that's what happened in game 2 of this exact series. But I think you're right that they can say, great, we have a home game, and then it's a game 7. Who knows? Or oh, maybe we win both. So I don't question that. Everybody, quick break to talk about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's not just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. They can offer so many surprising insights, so you know how much you're spending on various categories and things like food delivery. Now you can budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even plan long-term goals. And it's easy to manage money with a partner as well. So you can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page with no stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off of your first year. I do wonder basketball-wise what they try to do better, because let's face it, they were on track to win that game, certainly, right? But they have not won a game under 110 the whole playoffs, and they were not scoring well in that game. They have to fix some offensive things to me. And that's where I would go next. Is it was great that in game 3 their bench was so awesome, and at home all their role players were quite good. Mathurin, his free throws were not great, and Ben Shepherd was up and down and stuff like that. But they do need to play better. They need to make some jump shots. Their defensive principles, especially on J-Dub, need to be better. Right? There are ways for them to improve. I think it starts with Myles Turner, who has been better as a fulcrum, I think, that people are giving him credit for, but has largely just not been very effective in the home games. And he was sick, but That was not good enough. Aaron Nesmith hasn't been making a ton of shots or felt very involved either. Those are the two guys that I would point to as well. I'll go to you, though. When you look at the actual basketball execution of games 3 and 4, but really game 4, because that's the one they're adjusting off of the result of, where do you feel like they need to be better? Because, again, this is up there with the biggest games they've ever played.
Yeah, I feel like they did a lot of things that were smart in game 3 that they maybe strayed a little bit from in game 4, and I'd like to see them kind of go back to that. I mean, obviously the Thunder are going to pack the paint, and they're extremely good at simultaneously packing the paint and then closing out on three-point shooters. And the Pacers found ways to attack the soft part of that by trying to hit floaters, trying to hit more mid-range shots. You need to make them pay a little bit more from that range in order to kind of soften that up a little bit. And one thing I really loved is that they were constantly sending, just trying to attack the rim and then sending somebody else kind of almost like a trailer, sending a second cutter after the fact. It's easier to hit a cutter with a pass because it's instantaneous. If you try to throw it all the way out to a 3-point line, it gives the amazing defensive athletes that the Thunder have time to get out and close. But like if you're shoveling it right behind you to somebody cutting for a dunk or a layup, there's just no time to react to something like that. And so, I mean, Mathurin's going to be someone that's going to be really good at that. That's Nesmith. That has Nesmith written all over it. He needs to be hitting that a little bit harder. Obi Toppin as another guy. Those are 3 guys that would be very good candidates to constantly exploit that. And they should just be always following anytime someone attacks a basket. And I think that
they had really success with that in game 3 too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like they didn't do it as much as the game 4, and I'd like to see that come back a little bit. I don't know what to say about Myles Turner. Obviously, he wasn't a complete disaster, but obviously at the end of this game in particular, he kind of looked like he lost track of the play, like he didn't even know what was supposed to be happening fundamentally. And we've seen that it's been a while, but there have been moments in close pacer games where it seemed like, Myles Turner at one point even admitted, like, hey, I didn't know what the play was. Sorry that I screwed up whatever game against Orlando was like 5 years ago or something. He's got to be sharp. He's got to be there. And I don't know what else to say other than the fact that if he has, he needs to make a couple more shots, he's a great candidate to really hammer the soft part. I'm not really a zone, but just a soft part of the defense. He was a crucial cog to be able to punish the Thunder for what they're doing defensively. And if he's not getting it going, it's really tough to have the Pacers at their highest functioning offensively. So not just in the sense of we need a couple more buckets, but like that function of having him hitting shots from the perimeter is another way to really soften up that Thunder defense. With Mathurin and missing their shots at the end of the game, there's one thing I did kind of want to point out. There was a moment with the Spurs and the Heat finals a long time ago. Obviously, the Heat come back and make kind of a crazy comeback. Kawhi Leonard had 2 shots to clinch that series. If he would have hit those shots, the Spurs would have won the title. Missed them both. That opened the door for everything else that had happened. He was a young guy, obviously had a lot of potential, had accomplished more in the league than Mathurin had at that point. And I remember watching those 2 shots and thinking, oh man, is that it? Like, maybe that's the thing that's going to stop him from taking the leap, and that might define his career. And no, of course it didn't. Like, he's a Hall of Famer. Like, he's fine. Like, so there's been many other examples in NBA history, but that one in particular was worse than what happened with Mathurin in this game. Hall of Famers have done this and recovered and been fine. So I don't know if I've seen anybody point that out in particular. Obviously, it sucks to see all the mistakes that he made at the end of the game, but he has a chance to come back out and recover in the same series. Better players have done it before, and I think that he has an opportunity still, even though that was disappointing. Which is also very funny because my son hates Bennedict Mathurin because he missed 3 throws against the Sixers, and we were at that game, and he was really hoping that he was going to do it. And so he said 0-0. I hate him. He misses 3 throws. And then I said, no. It's just one time. He's fine. And so now after this game, son didn't even want to talk about it. But I thought that was good. It's just it had to be him. It had to be him.
Dude, I was talking to you about this.
There's such a burning, irrational hatred for Bennedict Mathurin.
If you said to me, like, hey, Pacers are down 2 or whatever, they need a guy at the line to make 2 free throws late in the game. Ty, Aaron, and Ben Mathurin are the 3 guys. I'm like, yeah, those are the 3 that I would expect the most to make them, right? Like, he's in that group of players on the team, and he just happened to miss. The off-ball fouls were a mess. The one on the inbounds in the half court was fine. They were competing. The full court one was bad. Did not cover himself in glory. Okay, let me run through the basketball stuff. Myles Turner. After game 2, everyone said it. Ty was playing better late in that game because they were getting him the ball on the move. They were setting better screens. And then everybody realized, like Myles Turner is critical to that. And look at that. Tyrese Haliburton plays better in game 3. He's more effective in game 4. Turner is still, again, I mentioned this earlier, he is still important and been a good fulcrum. When he's at the top and he's catching and he turns and flips to the other side or turns and pitches with the guard, whatever, he's involved in all that double screen action stuff to do at the top when it's him in a guard. Like, he's been good at that stuff in these 2 games, but you are absolutely right. One, like the ball bouncing in front of him and not diving on it, like, that's not great. You got to do it, dude. It's the finals. But he's got to make shots. Like, especially given the defenders on him and how the Thunder want to use them to clog the paint or be forces or be rebounders, whatever. He has got to make shots, spread the floor, power at the rim, all stuff like that. Like, one of his 3 makes last game was like the hardest shot he took, that fading like 20-footer. I was like, whoa, what's he doing? Oh, he made it. He's got to make the open ones. And we've seen that he can. He was good to start this series, but it's just, it hasn't been there in a way that's really important. Like, the shot he got, they were only down 3. He had a wide open 3 late in game 4, and he shot fakes and Lou Dort flies by, and he barely even hit the rim. Like, his shot has escaped him in these home games. They need that. Neesmith, sometimes, not always, is being guarded by SGA. No one is asking Aaron Neesmith to like isolate, but get him involved more in some way. Make him a target to get SGA into the plays. And he's a good shooter. I think he can shoot better than he has. Like, there's nothing more to this than makes and misses, but he's also fouling out. Like, if you're having that kind of game, you got to make more shots. And I don't think he's defending poorly, to be clear. Like, J-Dub is having a worldie of a last couple games, but they need a little bit more from him, from the shot-making department. Like, Siakam missed shots he normally makes, whatever, who cares? So, honestly, some of the basketball stuff is just like good starters play better, right? Like, it's not even like a huge change of heart or process. And that's not, that kind of happens, I think, late. You've been around for forever for this. A lot of adjustments happen through the course of a series, but there comes a point, and I don't think it's happened quite yet, but it's getting close, where it's just like, you've shown the cards, like, play better. Right. And there's probably a few more little zone things, like we've seen zone mixed in the last couple of games. I bet it becomes more of a factor as the series progresses. But outside of like we just saw Shea J-Dub become a 2-man game in a way they hadn't been all series. Like, it's not over with adjustments, but there does become a point late in these long series where that's it. It's just you good players who are starters on finals teams and are good, play your best, play better. And those 2 specifically, I think, on offense have a little bit of room, and a lot of room in some cases, to do more. And the bench has been up and down, and they need it to be up. And Tyrese Haliburton has been up and down. They need him to be up. But the trope about role players being better at home isn't as true as people say it is. But in this series, it really has been. And so on the road, they need it to not be, right? They need those guys to be very good in Game 5, I think. When we break here, guys, we can talk about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action, and FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. With the finals going on, it's a good time. Check it out. Which players are going to show up on these huge moments? And how could tracking their trends help you build your next big bet? What would it look like if you combined live prop bets mid-game based on how the action is unfolding? Well, FanDuel can let you do all that. If you've got a read on who's heating up, why not back it up with a same-game parlay? And how could a $200 bonus in bets add to the excitement if your first $5 bet hits? Because if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Yeah. And, another part of it is this is just a very good team. And, you could try to scheme slightly better, slightly more open 3-point shots. But if you're going to beat a team that has one of the best net ratings in NBA history, you're going to have to hit tough threes. You're going to have to hit tough shots. There isn't a miracle cure, I think, in order to get a high volume of wide open looks. You're not going to crack this defense to that degree. There are, people might quibble about some of the calls or how much physical some players can be on defense, and it hasn't always been perfect. But I've been extremely impressed by particularly the perimeter defenders on the Thunder. I thought that they've done a terrific job, and that's not really going to go away. They have room to hit the shots that they've been taking. I don't think that there has been a ton of just bad or really low volume, low percentage chances out of the Pacers offense, but there's been a lot of okay, not super great looks, and you just got to hit them. It's hard, but winning an NBA title is hard, and this is going to be one of the bigger upsets in NBA history if they're able to pull this out. And I don't think that the quality of looks is going to get better than this. If I could sit here and say, well, they could do this, that, and the other in order to scheme more stuff, then maybe I'd be added to the coaching staff next year. I think that this is about topped out for the quality of looks that they're going to get. There's a few small things that they could do, but at the end of the day, those particularly Turner, Nesmith, Nembhard, they just got to hit a lot of shots. It really kind of boils down to that, honestly.
It does. It absolutely does. They can't stagnate like they did at the end of game 4. Like they're more than a 1-2 pass team, whatever. They got to keep flowing. And I get that you risk the turnovers, and there's a happy medium between not playing like yourselves at all and flowing too much that it risks something bad happening. And they totally went too far the other way in that game. I think they know that. The Shea J-Dub thing that happened at the end of that game, I don't even know how to say what I'm trying to say, because you are worried about it. If you're the Pacers, duh. It's 2 great players screening for each other. But it's like they're being guarded by Nembhard and Nesmith. Like what? That's what you want. It's the Pacers. Like just switch and hope you guard them. And so it's like, do you just sag off of other shooters a little bit more to clog up the paint a little bit? Like maybe that's the answer. But I don't even know that there's a huge like strategic adjustment besides just like hope their role players miss threes against that, because Shea was just amazing. Like in that way that you can criticize the Pacers defense late a little bit, I guess, but you just kind of tip your cap that he was making some of those shots. They were tough. So I don't know if that part of the end game part, I'm like, they have to change this or that. Obviously the offensive thing is what it is, but yeah, a lot of they're at the point of the series where a lot of it is play better. And that's not the fun part, because part of what's made them so good at responding is they like can make bigger changes against big challenges, but they also have players who can play better. And that in some way should give them some confidence.
I completely agree. And I think that it was fascinating to see that they set up a play to get SGA the ball kind of on the elbow, almost with the intention of having Nesmith put his arm on his shoulder, wait, and then just kind of pull up. And I totally understand. That's a foul. You can't do that. I mean, like it's, hand caught in the cookie jar. I mean, you just can't put your hand on somebody's shoulder. And I was thinking about what you would do in that situation, because he catches the ball right there. If you just put your hands to the side, it seems like not enough against SGA. I understand the instinct to put the arm down there, but that play seemed designed to draw that foul, which I thought was pretty interesting. But overall, on that, I think you're fine. I think that I would like to see Nesmith in general get slightly less aggressive on J-Dub on defense, because I feel he was up on him a little too much, and that he was having too easy a time getting around him and getting a seam on him. And then he's a very good player and a very good shooter. And I'm not saying just like leave him alone. Don't play Rondo defense on him or anything like that, but give a little bit more breathing room. If he kills you on step back shots, I think you can live with that. I think that I just see a little bit more of that kind of volume, letting him get all the way to the rim and just completely slice into the defense too many times. That's just too much, I think, for the Pacers to handle. That'd be the one thing I'd like to see tweaked a little bit. But overall, I mean, these are 2 outstanding defenders. You've seen NBA media trip over themselves, praising these two guys as being two excellent perimeter defenders that are being a huge factor in the Pacers winning, and which they absolutely are. And if they want to switch back and forth between those two guys, I think it's fine. I think you live with that and you let them battle it out.
Do you have any other big basketball related thoughts? Because other than that, I think the mentality part is just as big now.
It really is. It is interesting how, if you've ever seen one of those memes of the sort of bell curve of, basketball's a simple game, psychological game.
Yes.
And then it's like, no, here's all these advanced stats and all these numbers, all these play types and all this stuff. And then it kind of comes to the end. It's like, yeah, it's just kind of a psychological game. I mean, it's just sometimes one of these two teams is going to come out and hit a lot of shots tomorrow, and no one's going to get easy shots. They're both very good defensively, and they're both active and young and athletic. Nothing is going to come easy on either end. And it really, truly is. It feels like in the series, not reductive to say the team that hits shots is going to be able to get this. And then, SGA proved this very definitively. He was basically the one guy on the court that was really ready to hit shots at the end of that game. And you got to give him an enormous amount of credit. And, the Pacers got to find that mojo. They've done it so many times. It's the biggest stage. It's the hardest time to do it. But, they have done it a lot. They've shown so many times that when they are down a lot, when it feels like there's like this emotionally devastating loss, and they've been blown up by like the Charlotte Hornets or something in the regular season, or they've, been, really waxed on the road in the playoffs. They've always responded big, and it just seems like they may not win Game 5, but I do feel like they are going to have a huge response in Game 5. I feel very confident about that.
I think their pace will be good. They get it side to side. They'll get good shots they like. Will they make them? Will they stop the Thunder from making them? How will inertia play into this? How will the start play into this? The Thunder changed their starting lineup. It's like the 10th biggest afterthought of the series at the moment because it didn't really feel like it mattered that much. And then the end was so crazy. And it's how the series goes. And like, that's part of the adjustments is these rotational changes. Thomas Bryant, see you later. I bet Ben Shepherd's minutes probably go down a little bit going forward now. We've already seen Mathurin and Eastman start to take some of those. I think that makes sense, even with the wear down effect being what it is for the Pacers. But someone's going to make shots. Maybe both teams do. The Pacers can play their way and score and get to that magical 110 number. Maybe they'll come back up 3-2. We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Pacers. Father's Day is winding down, and the Pod Father is going to tell you where you can find him and the things that he has to say about the Pacers. I didn't even mean to do that today, Dave. What a coincidence.
It's you can find me on Twitter. Been a little bit more active on this playoff run, which has been fun to experience. I almost got ratioed into the grave because I accidentally said that you were a part of this a little bit with the T-shirt. You threw me a T-shirt. I gave it to a fan behind us, and I had caught a T-shirt in Game 3 and said, every time that I've caught a T-shirt, the Pacers win. And then at the end, I said, oh, the streak continues. This is great. And then when I caught the T-shirt, I was excited because I got T-shirts in 2 games in a row. So I thought, oh, that's a crazy streak. So I accidentally say the streak continues, but that implied that the winning streak continues. And it felt like an early thing. And so I didn't realize that until nearly the end of the game. Tried to go back, and then I just kind of deleted everything when the game was over. I have a huge policy about not deleting anything. It's just like, it is what it is. Just let it fly. But it's like, I can't deal with 3 days of people taking this out of context and saying it was insane. So hopefully something like that doesn't happen again. And if you find me on Twitter, it will be because I said something funny and insightful, not made a complete fool of myself.
I would consider that funny and insightful. Don't let anyone bullying you into not giving a kid a shirt, Dave. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, that was great.
You did the right thing in the entire interaction.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much, Shoni. And thank you for the shirt, and thank you for the tape.
I'm here to help. It was quite the ordeal of trying to find tape at the NBA Finals. I can't even lie. But you know what? Someone's got to be the glue guy. Pascal Siakam is on the court. I'll handle it behind the scenes. Thank you, everybody, for listening today. Give Dave a follow. I'm sure he'll be back many times on this podcast. I felt like he was perfect today. He was at both games. I'll be back tomorrow after Game 5, probably solo, unless it's another insane game. Then Derek Kramer will be there, too. And then it's time. They'll be up 3-2 or down 3-2. You know what that means for the rest of this week. It's going to be nuts. Love all the coverage right here on Locked On Pacers. Thank you for listening. See you very soon.